Estate planning is not something you do because you're getting older. It's something you do because you're getting wiser. In the upper reaches of North Dakota, running a family farm isn't easy. The winters seem to last forever. But the people who live here wouldn't trade it for anything. People like Darrell Cox.
I always wanted to be a farmer. That was always my goal. You're not doing the same thing day after day. It's always something different.
The Cox family has been working the land in North Dakota for 3 generations. Darrell's mother, Judy, has cooked more country breakfast than she can remember. It's a good life, a life Judy and her husband wanted to pass on to their son.
I can remember when Darrell got old enough and got his driver's license, and he'd go to school, and that's the first thing he'd do. He'd come home and he'd hit for the farm.
But then tragedy struck. Darrell Sr. was diagnosed with terminal cancer.
It was very hard because, you know, he felt so good, no symptoms.
Facing the loss of a father and husband was difficult enough. But Darrell Sr.'s illness brought another problem, a financial problem. Estate taxes would be considerable. The Coxes might have to sell part of the farm just to pay off the taxes. The family turned to a trusted friend, AAL Representative John Adams.
He wanted that farm and that business to pass to his son, who wanted so much to remain in the local area and farm. I wanted to get together this afternoon.
But the cancer was progressing. There wasn't much time. The entire family came to John Adams for help. Working as quickly as possible, John coordinated a team of skilled professionals, a team that included an attorney, accountant, trust officer, and AAL. The result was an estate plan that would minimize the Cox's tax burden and keep the farm intact. A short time after the final papers were signed, Darrell Sr. passed away.
There was potential that if the estate work would not have been done, that they would not have been able to continue farming because of the estate problems.
Darrell Sr.'s sudden illness was not the only complicating factor in the Cox's estate plan. While Darrell Jr. wanted to continue the farming tradition, his sister Lisa had moved to town and started a career. Judy and her husband wanted to find a way to be fair to both their children, and John Adams provided the right mix of products to do just that.
I guess I was just happy to keep the farming in the family and stuff like that, and everything has went so well.
These days, the Coxes remain a close-knit family, and they are slowly learning to enjoy life once again. Darrell Sr.'s death was difficult for everyone, but there is some comfort in knowing that his estate plan helped to preserve this family's traditions for many years to come. Kittrell Moore was called to serve. Summoned to duty in the Gulf War, the chaplain served his nation and his Lord. Back home, his wife Emily waited. But Emily Moore would never see her husband again. On March 26, 1991, Kittrell Moore died while serving his country. He left behind a wife and 2 children.
You never think that when you're in your early 20s that perhaps in 20 years or less that one or the other spouse will die. You simply don't think along those lines.
It took Emily a long time to recover, but the burden was eased by the estate planning she and Kittrell had done early in their marriage. For example, they had made specific provisions for their children's education, something that was important to Emily and Kittrell.
We talked a lot about where we saw ourselves in a year, where we would see ourselves in 5 years, 10, 25, like that, and what we wanted.
In the following years, Emily would lean on her Lord for help, renewal. Eventually, she married again to a loving Christian man, Herman Blake. But before their wedding day, Emily and Herman talked openly about their newly blended family and made plans for the future, spiritually, personally, and financially.
I think it not only gives us comfort and peace of mind, I think it also makes it easier for our children to participate in the celebration of our new life, because they know that they have been thought about, and it is not like there's something that has to be dealt with later on. We have dealt with it up front.
We sat down and we talked about where we want things to go and what we want our future to look like and what we want each of our children's futures to look like. We didn't just sort of lump all kids together. We look at each of them because they're each going different ways and they're on the horizon.
Anybody who's ever had more than one child in a household knows that those two children are not the same, even though they have the same parents in the same house. So it seems to me unrealistic to expect them to become one at some later point when they've never been that way.
Estate planning can't prevent the tragedies of life, but it can bring some comfort in times of need. It's the responsible thing to do, a way to show your love for your spouse, for your children, for your Lord. That's a truth Emily Moore learned firsthand. Kristen Fuqua has a gift, the gift of music. Her teachers say she's a rare talent and might someday play with the nation's finest orchestras. But advanced musical training is expensive. Kristen's parents, Lutheran school teachers, don't have the financial ability to advance her musical studies. Enter Kristen's grandmother, Joyce Holm. Music and her family have been Joyce's lifelong passions, and so she has earmarked funds to support her granddaughter's musical pursuits for many years to come.
I can't wait to see what this possibly could do for my granddaughter. I'd love to see her in a symphony orchestra with a black velvet dress playing the oboe. I just think that would be just outstanding.
Supporting her granddaughter's music has brought tremendous joy and meaning to Joyce Holm's life. It's helped fill the void and emptiness created when her husband Bob passed away last August.
He worked hard. He took great responsibility for his family. He was a nice man.
Years earlier, Joyce and Bob had taken the time to think about their financial goals and their values. The result was a comprehensive estate plan, a plan that made it possible for them to support Kristen's music. Joyce's daughter Sue believes the estate plan accomplished precisely what her father wanted.
He believed in education, believed in music, believed in the Lord's talents, and I think those things are all going to flourish by the estate planning that he did.
Well, the passage that I like is in 2 Corinthians 12:14, and it says the parents should make provisions for their children and not children for their parents. And what it means to me is that when we take the responsibility of having children, we take total responsibility for the children, not only spiritually, but financially.
In addition to supporting their granddaughter's musical training, Joyce and Bob's estate plan also provides for their 2 children.
We owe everything to God. Give the first fruits to God.
But the first place to receive a contribution from their estate is the Lord. Because her estate plan is in order, Joyce Holm can now get on with her life. Instead of worrying about her finances, she can play golf with her daughter Sue.
Ooh, well, good shot, Sue.
By putting your house in order, you have that freedom. That's one thing I don't have to think about. So that gives you a lot of freedom to think of opening other doors.
Creating an estate plan wasn't a major departure for Joyce and her husband. It was simply an extension of their lifelong values. Just one more step in a long walk of Christian service and love. Walter Rummel has spent his life searching for answers. A newspaper publisher in Sebowing, Michigan, he probably knows more about his hometown than anyone else. In fact, he wrote the book on local history, quite literally. To this day, he is the man people turn to for answers about this corner of America.
I can't keep a story to myself. I like to spend time finding out, and I like to put it somewheres, put the information somewhere where I feel it has a little bit of longevity to it.
But there was one question Walter Rummel could not answer, and it bothered him deeply. Walter's entire family had worked at his side over the years, including his wife, who passed away some years ago. Walter had recently remarried to a lovely woman named Dorothy. But there was that problem. He felt that the newspaper business should pass on to his sons rather than to his new wife.
It's a big problem. It's a big question.
Walter wasn't sure how to bring up the subject with his new wife. They shared everything, but this was like a barrier that Walter could not cross. He stewed, he worried, for week after week. And so Walter turned to a trusted friend, a friend who had helped him in the past. The friend's name was Deb Kretschmann, Walter's AAL representative.
Walt had come to me and explained that he was a little concerned because he had built a business with his first wife and his sons over a long time, a very long period of time. And the business had grown significantly, and they had worked on it all of their lives. And then she passed away, and he remarried. He met someone that he loved and cared for very much, but at the same time, he wanted to make sure that he passed that business to his children and provided for his new wife, Dorothy.
Deb closely examined Walter's situation using AAL's estate protection analysis. She then brought in a lawyer, accountant, and other professionals who prepared a comprehensive plan to address Walter's needs. The estate plan they created would provide for Walter's new wife, and at the same time, his sons could receive the family business. It was a plan that was fair to everyone. Still, Walter was apprehensive.
He was very concerned that just bringing the subject up to the rest of the family would cause hurt feelings.
Come, Lord Jesus, be our guest.
Deb Kretschmann encouraged Walter to talk to his wife and sons about his estate ideas. They talked openly, and in the end, Walter was relieved to learn that everyone agreed with his wishes.
I think he did a really wonderful thing. I think I've been treated real fairly.
She's a very nice lady. Yes, we all get along real well, and at the same time, we want her provided for, and I'm glad that we don't have to think about that, and she doesn't have to think about that, that my dad has been able to make some choices and make some decisions that will assist her if she needs it, and at the same time, there are provisions for the rest of the family, too.
I was pleased, and I'm relieved, and it's not bothering me anymore, and I'm glad that that it's out of the way, that it's solved.
Here's our Indian fried bread with honey.
The result is a happy family, a family at peace, thanks to an estate plan that was fair to everyone. Estate planning isn't always easy, but Walter Rummel knew where to turn for help. It's just one more answer for Sebowing, Michigan's best-known answer man. An estate plan is simply an extension of you, your values, your accomplishments, your passions. It's a way to say, this is what I'm about. This is what's important to me. It can bring a great sense of accomplishment, to have worked through those issues, to have made those decisions. Ultimately, estate planning is a great gift, the gift of peace for yourself and your family.